Thanks for watching. Next, we will have several demo shows from winning teams of our online dev challenge. They are selected from more than 50 teams around the world. First of all, the demo show would be delivered by Anil Kumar from BytomSwap. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here, and thank you for participating in Blockchain Conversation. My name is Anil, and I work on BytomSwap. We are building a token marketplace on Bytom blockchain. What is a token? Why tokens? Why blockchain? I will try to answer all these questions, starting with fundamentals. Blockchain tries to emulate a real-world phenomena. You see money in real world, a banknote. Everybody has seen it. In blockchain world, there is something equivalent to a banknote. For example, if you're a painter, you see something in real world and paint it on a paper. Blockchain also enables such kind of physical process. So what can you do with a banknote? You can exchange it for smaller notes, or you can burn it, or you can trade it with others for something of value. You can do all the same thing with this abstract thing called UTXO. UTXO was actually introduced in Bitcoin. The similarities with physical world doesn't just end here. You can take a bunch of banknotes and put them in a money safe and lock them with a secret key. And only you can give it to your friends, and they can open it. The same thing can be done with a bunch of UTXOs, and we call them smart contracts. You can lock them with a program, and you can unlock them with a different program. So these kind of similarities exist throughout the applications of blockchain. So what Bytom did is take this aspect of Bitcoin, and they enabled a feature called BUTXO, where you can have different kinds of assets, different kinds of UTXOs in the same blockchain. It's like the similarities still continue here, just like if you go to a shop, take two banknotes, two $10, or in blockchain world, two UTXOs, and you pay $12, and you get back a change of $8. This is a normal transaction. This UTXO transaction in Bitcoin emulates that. Bytom extends the same concept, and in a Bytom transaction, you can say, take two goats and three sheep, and I want a house for it. So you can kind of emulate natural transactions like this in a Bytom blockchain. So why is this such a big deal? So what? So what you can do all of these things? That's because in real world, only 3% of our money is actual money. The rest of the 97% is debt. And not all debt is the same. So Bytom blockchain, with its multi-asset properties, enables us to distinguish between good debt, bad debt, debt for a specific purpose, debt for government purpose, etc. And that is very interesting feature for blockchains. So if you take the real world, there are 180 currencies, there are so many commodities like gold, there are so many virtual currencies, there are tokens and major stock. You can take all of these value, tokenize them on Bytom blockchain, and you could trade with each other. You go to a shop, if the shop takes dollars, you can pay them in dollars. If it takes some other token, you can pay them in some other tokens. So that's why having multi-assets and same blockchain is interesting. This is just not an application. There are so many use cases for a blockchain like this. Right now, almost all blockchains offer this feature called store of value. If somebody asks, what is that blockchain provides that other things cannot, or existing technology cannot, I would point them two important use cases. One of them is micropayments. The other one is micro-ownership. I'm very interested in micro-ownership, and I think tokens is a way of achieving micro-ownership. I will try to explain this with a little bit of examples. So I want to introduce this application called micropayments and payment partnerships. Right now, our bank accounts are very static. If you send money to them, you have to physically go do something. But with Bitcoin and blockchain and Bytom, you can have smart addresses. You can say something like, look, this bridge was built by so many people, and it was funded by 10,000 people. Every time somebody uses this bridge, this particular address gets $1, and this dollar is split proportionally into 10,000 smaller units. You could do such kind of payment partnerships and micropayments and tokenize the existing infrastructure in a way that was not possible before. And this is interesting to me because you can fund a project in your town and every day collect some micro accrual of dividend in your account. And the other idea is micro ownership. So a simpler example is a car manufacturer tokenizes your asset. A car is definitely a depreciating asset. You could break down into 10,000 or 100,000 smaller units, and you can post, and you want to buy a car. And you would post this thing on your Facebook, and all your friends fund it, and in exchange, every month they get some dividend because of their funding your car. And you can eventually own back your car by buying those tokens or paying off the car. So this kind of micro ownership is possible with blockchain, and especially with a multi-token blockchain. And there are lots of interesting features that are going on Bitcoin. And people are kind of taking it apart and extending these ideas so that you could have scaling features, you could have privacy features, and you could try new models that may work for everybody. And you can, because Bytom is an open source concept, you can borrow all these features and make something that your application can use. So this is what we did with BytomSwap. We created a multi-asset reserve system. It's a proof of concept. What we are trying to do is we're trying to take assets in real world. For now, we take a bunch of assets like Bitcoin, BCH, and we kind of migrate them into Bytom blockchain. So all the assets outside can be migrated into Bytom assets. And then we act as an intermediary. When somebody deposits their gold with us, we issue equivalent amount of Bytom gold. And when they want to collect, they send us their Bytom gold, we give back their gold. We don't support gold, it's just used as a concept. So in future, it would be possible for Alice and Bob to be able to exchange their assets peer-to-peer without anybody else getting involved. So in this concept, the few assets that we support, people can exchange it without any additional features from us because the blockchain natively supports exchanging multiple assets. Well, this leads to more interesting problems that are all solvable by little computer science fundamentals. How do Alice and Bob negotiate the price? How do they know they're trading at their efficient price? And how do they discover each other without a central party? So right now there are centralized and decentralized exchanges, and many of the people are using centralized exchanges. So there is still an opportunity to develop a decentralized marketplace and order book so that there is no central authority that controls and manipulates this order book. So we also came up with a token exchange protocol where like 3 different parties, they lock their tokens in a smart contract, just like the concept that I described about locking your UTXOs in a safe. You can lock your assets in a safe, come to our site and say, look, I locked some assets here, and I want to trade them only for this much in return. And you can change your mind too. And once we find a match, we swap the secret so that you can unlock your assets yourself. So we chose a combination of centralized and decentralized models so that we never store your keys. We are only providing a swapping service that is very transient, and the rest of the exchange happens between the 2 parties who were trying to discover each other. In summary, we just implemented this proof of concept using very few tokens, and we want to come up with a standard for how people can tokenize more of these assets. But as a proof of concept, this works end to end. That's it. Thank you. Any questions I can answer? Sure.
How is it different from the other competitor like Bytom?
Yeah. So Ethereum uses account model for holding tokens. So that's like you go to a bank and you have an account, and in your account you have $10. Ethereum's tokens are exactly that. But Bitcoin implemented something called UTXO. Bytom gives UTXO for all tokens. So this is much better technology compared to Ethereum, or much simpler to maintain and manage.
Can I have a follow-up?
Sure, sure.
How come there's so many? This kind of, for me as a developer, I get confused because there's so many platforms out there.
Yeah,
So how do you
different.
which one is the best?
That's right. So most of them are centralized platforms. That means you give them your keys, they control, and you don't have less control. You just have to trust them. But with our model, and there are some other projects like ours, you hold your own keys. And we provide you a smart contract where you lock your assets. And if you decide to unlock them, you can unlock them anytime you want. And once you log them and put them on our site, we will find a match for you, right? So this is like, you don't have to trust us, you have to trust the math and protocol behind us. So we would say this is a trustless system. If you trust somebody else, that also works. But if you're a developer, you should aim to build trustless systems, because that way you win people over by math and algorithms instead of trust and old techniques. Sure. Thank you.